The question is, what exactly happens when an artist, or an educator, or a curator express an interest in working with a particular community or working in a particular neighborhood? And from which power positions do we do that? What does this entail? And what is the nature of our relationship with our participants? So Manifesta is a European nomadic biennial that is hosted every 2 years by a different European city. And it originated in early 90s in the Netherlands in response to political, economical, and social change that followed the Cold War and the fall of the Berlin Wall and kind of towards the European integration. And initially the idea of the project was to understand Eastern and Western Europe through the language of contemporary art. But then in further editions, our vector changed a bit to the north and the south of Europe because it's actually the Eastern-Western topic was not relevant anymore. And since our past edition in 2018 in Palermo, and now we're in Marseille in 2020, we are kind of exploring the relationship between South and South in the context of Mediterranean crisis. So the whole project of Manifesta begins 2 or 3 years before we open the biennial for the public. It starts with the research of international teams. So international teams comes 2 or 3 years before we start the biennial to actually understand what's going on in that city, to understand the funding possibilities, the collaborations possibilities, and the context that we are planning to work with. So our ambition in the biennial, and especially our task in education, is to kind of deeply engage with the local context and to address current societal, urban, political, and economical issues through international artistic positions in dialogue with the local context. So most of the projects that are developed in Manifesta by artists are new commissioned. It means the artists are coming to the host city for the research, for longer term research, and they develop a new project in collaboration with a local initiative. And this is very important for us because we are not really promoting art making, we're not promoting international artists, but what we're interested in is what Europe is today through a perspective of a particular city. So education department is the first one that moves to the host city of Manifesta, and it happens normally 2 years before the biennial opens. And we focus our research on current state of affairs and sociocultural engagement and education. So we try to understand which are the associations, I don't know, or what are the kind of internal dynamics and why people participate in culture or not, and who is working with whom. So it's kind of very subtle, what we call action research. But this becomes a base for developing an education program for the biennial. And then the associations and the people, the initiatives that we've met, they become our collaborators and partners of our projects, and together with them we kind of realize it towards the biennial, during the biennial, and after. So this is very important to understand that you start the collaboration not from the position of working with a disadvantaged community, but you create a possibility where people can bring the best of what they have. I think it's important because for me the compassion, or the coming to such a neighborhood with a position of a compassion and helping is really problematic, can be very problematic because it's patronizing, and patronizing is opportunistic, so it's a very fine line. And for me, I think we don't want to help people, no, we want to do a strong project. We want to do a strong project and create a situation where people can really bring a strong input in that project instead of being the participants of our charity, kind of charity program. we also represent the institution that also has the opening at a certain time, so we cannot completely go different direction, but we were trying to see how you can still, even in a short time, make people working together. And if you initiate the process together and you get inspirations from your participants, you get their ideas, you get their free time, and then you should find a way of implementing these ideas together and not in your own manner because you are a professional architect or professional organist or professional. When you say art education, everybody, every single person expects an artist doing a workshop with a school. This is a very traditional format that is so hard for people to go beyond that. And we realize every time we use the terms of education mediation, people really don't understand the full scope of our approach and the programs that can be inside. So in Manifesting Education, we always have a priority to work with the national education system and understand which place the contemporary art or art education in general, which role does it play in national education system. And it's very interesting to see how in different countries and different cities this is implemented. So we do also a very kind of profound research in understanding how does that work. But basically my mission, my statement today is that mediation is a collective knowledge production. We see mediation as a collective knowledge production. And the way of sharing protagonism in the projects. Now, it's instead of imposing your brilliant ideas